I'm currently screen recording, yes, so I have two windows side by side, you on this video chat and me on my own camera, and then I'm screen recording around it. So, before I post anything on anything, I will edit it and send it to you and let you see it. So, just so everybody knows, tell us what all the green is around you.
The green is a green screen.
Yeah.
And I make these videos, you know, my comedy there. Ron Greene Comedian, YouTube.
I'll put a little thingy up here, one of those little cards, linked to your channel.
Behind the screen, you see, it's just rather junk.
Just junk.
So I do it on green screen, and I just pop some background behind it, you know.
Yeah. So you're my second guest. In this interview, I want to be a little more focused than my original interview with Meta. This will be just more of me listening to you and hearing your story. Tell me about you, like your life, where you were born, how you grew up, and I want to know, I want people to know good and bad, as far as, you don't have to tell us stuff that's going to make you cry, but just, you know, I mean.
It might make you cry.
Fun things. We want to hear. I want to hear some fun stories, but I also want to hear any sort of struggles you'd want people to know about, and you know, just that kind of stuff. So, start at the beginning. March 21st, 1949.
1:40 a.m. See, March 21st is March 22nd or the 20th. Either the March 22nd, I think, is the first day of spring. It's right in there. Just, you know.
Yeah, the equinox.
And so I was born 1:40 a.m. and so the spring chicken was born. The perpetual, I still am a spring chicken. You know, Ronald Greene Sr. and Peggy Bass Greene, and born in the Tiff County Hospital. Mom and Dad were living in Sylvester. Population then probably about 1,500 or so.
And this is South Georgia, just so everybody knows.
Oh yeah, South Georgia. And Tiff County probably had a population of 3,500, but they had a hospital. So. They're
a lot bigger now.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as just Tifton itself seems to be bigger.
Tifton, yeah, it's a good sized little town. Of course, it's like Cartersville. They're on the interstate, and the interstate came through. Bustle, boom.
That came through during your lifetime.
Oh yeah. In fact, you know where the Cracker Barrel is now.
Mm-hmm.
We've eaten there a bunch of times.
Well, you can like wave to the gravesites of our family members right there.
They're still there.
In fact, you can see that cemetery as we're coming up the interstate, and every time we pass that exit, I'll be like, everybody wave to great-grandmother and granddaddy Greene.
Where the Cracker Barrel is now was a drive-in,
Oh, yeah.
and we used to go out to the drive-in during the time that the interstate was being constructed.
Wow.
And there's a bridge over Highway 84, which is the Sylvester Highway, and we would go up on the bridge and we'd drop water balloons on the cars and get bad down there below. We never thought about dropping rocks. I mean, we just didn't do that kind of stuff. So we were up there just having a grand old time, and something caught our eye, and it was a sheriff's car that had pulled up on the construction of 75. You know, it was all dirt. They just laid it out, you know, and building the bridges and all that stuff. And my son's on police. Like crap, man. Get rid of the evidence. Throwing all these balloons away. See, that was a family friend named Willie Musselwhite. He and Cora Lee, they were friends of Mother's going way back, and they were probably about 10 or 15 years older than Mother. So Willie Musselwhite, God bless him, he worked out there at the drive-in theater as a projectionist. So he would let us. When I say us, it'd be me and some guy across the street from them that I became buddies with. Now, they also had Willie and Corley had a daughter, and Linda Lee, she's down South Georgia somewhere. But, Corley knew better to leave me alone with Linda Lee. So, we got, I've been going there since 8, 10, 12 years old, especially in the 8, 12 year, 10 year, 12 year range.
Now this speaks to kind of the time when kids would wander off alone and their parents didn't know where they were. Were you living? When would you go there? Would it be when you were visiting your grandparents? Would you then get on a bike and ride off to whatever?
Well, what we'd do is when I visited Grandma and Grandpa Bass. Remember, we've jumped from the time I was born 10 or 12 years.
We'll go back.
And, so we got now living in Quitman, Georgia, you see. And so we would go and spend a few weeks in the summer, off and on during the summer with Grandma and Grandpa.
And Quitman is down closer to Valdosta. It's like 30, 40 minutes.
I think it's 51 miles from Tipton.
It's way down there. You were born, you were the first boy.
Yep.
You were the son, you were the junior, your daddy was the senior.
Uncle Randall, Daddy they were twins, but not identical twins. Daddy was small, and Uncle Randall was 6'2" or so. And so I was the only
like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito and twins. Except your daddy was skinny, not chubby.
Yeah, most of my daddy ever weighed 140 pounds. So anyway, I was the youngest. The nearest cousin was Mary Beth, and I think she was 9 or 10 months older than me, and then her sister, and of course Kipling was in there somewhere, and Aunt Brenda was the oldest of the 4 girls, and then me. So I was Uncle Randall and Daddy just rode through town that morning. It's a boy! It's a boy! Keep in mind, everything was closed. You could hear it.
But they were happy, man. They were happy. So you lived, where did you live then when you were first born? You lived in Tifton?
Nope, lived in Sylvester.
Oh, yeah, Sylvester. And that's close, though. Close to Tifton?
Well, it's about 20 miles west. See, Valdosta is 20 miles or so east, and Sylvester's 20 miles or so west. And then you've got Albany beyond Sylvester. See, you have Tift County, Worth County, Daugherty County. Doherty County.
Doherty.
I think Doherty County's in Albany.
Yeah, it is. So you grew up living first in Sylvester with your mom and dad and sisters, but your dad left and you were 4.
Yeah, I remember a little bit about Sylvester. A lot of it may be that I was told, but I seem like I remember a little bit about the house where we lived, and I had this little 3 little tractors based on a John Deere, or it had it was called a tricycle. It was a nice tricycle thing.
But it looked like a tractor.
It looked like a tractor with one center wheel, you see, just like a big one. And I drove that thing all over town. Had a big old time. And that back in the day. I mean, keep in mind, I was only about 3 or 4 years old then. So, Mother and Daddy got a divorce in 1952, maybe late 52, 53, because she's already married to Wilson when Aunt Sister, Ted, Aunt Marion. Back, even now they call a lot of the female siblings sister.
Mm-hmm.
So her name was Marion, but everybody called her Sister. They got killed in October 1953. Mother and Wilson were already married.
Oh, already married then? Wow. So she moved on to Wilson pretty fast.
Yeah, Wilson was a good catch if you don't mind being married to a sociopath.
Was he older than her?
Huh?
Was he older than her?
Oh yeah. He and Daddy were contemporaries, and see back then, living in South Georgia, and people knew each other, or we knew somebody who knew each other.
Yeah.
But it was a whole different world. I watch Leave It to Beaver sometimes, and of course, Leave It to Beaver is too pure, but there's a lot of similarities. I can remember we had birthday parties, and it was not uncommon. Even your mother will tell you this. It was not uncommon to dress up for a birthday party. I remember one of them that I went to, and this is after we moved to Atlanta, Decatur. I was about 13 or so. It involved a dance. The girl's mother had rented a community place, and we all dressed up, man. The guys, suits and everything. So when I see Leave It to Beaver and Wally's out there dancing, all the kids are wearing suits and ties. That's the real deal. I sold. If you don't mind, just kind of let me ramble a little bit about living in Quitman, okay?
Okay.
We moved to Quitman, and I remember going to kindergarten there, and it was Ms. Kimber's kindergarten class, and kindergarten was a big deal, man, back then, because people just didn't go to kindergarten. I mean, you had to have a little bit of money to go to kindergarten. See, Wilson was very successful used car dealer. I asked Mother one time in 1959 or so, I said, how much did Wilson make? Well, Ronnie makes about $300 a week. $300 a week, that's like $3,000 a week today's money. Postage stamps for 2 or 3 cents. Loaf of bread was 15 cents, so on and so forth. Gasoline was 20 or so. But anyway, so I went to kindergarten, and at graduation, had a little gown and everything. She tried to assign different kids different things to do. So I did the invocation. Is the invocation the opening prayer or?
Thank you.
Whatever. So I can still remember this. See, so I'm and she's off in the wings, the curtain there. It was in the auditorium of the Quitman Grammar School. We didn't call it elementary, and there was no middle school, so we had grammar school from grades 1 through 7, high school 8 through 12. But anyway, so kindergarten. Our Father, who art in heaven. I did a pretty good job. I'm kind of accentuating how much. I mean, I forgot some words that I just 5 years old. So that was that. So I thought, this school business, all right, I kind of like it. Okay, what can I do now? Mama said, you got to go to first grade. Say what? You mean there's more?
I'm done, right? I'm done.
But I enjoy it. In fact, this is my first grade picture right here.
Wow.
And I've been meaning to send a copy to a friend of mine, So there, little Ronnie Greene is right there.
Yeah.
There, little Ronnie Greene. That's the sweet.
That looks like Daisy.
Yeah. Looks a whole lot like Nehemiah. Ooh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, these guys here, this guy here, little ears, he was my best friend. And he there was the biggest guy in the class back there. We would, like for a birthday party or whatever, we'd go to some guy's house and play all kind of little rough games. One of the games we played was horse. And horse, you get one guy, get a big guy, see, and another guy gets on his back, and which I always enjoy doing that because of course I'm too small to carry him.
Mm-hmm.
So then you come up towards each other, and the two guys that are on the back grab arms, and the deal is to try to pull one guy off the other guy, and the horse tries to stay up. So eventually, two of them go down to the ground.
Now, I've only ever heard of this or played it in the pool. Did y'all play it on, like, dirt?
Yeah. Lord, we played it on playground. You kidding? Lawsuit. Crazy stuff. Anyway, the guy that was my buddy there, my best friend, and riding the big guy's back. Got so excited he just pee-peed on his back. He peed on his back. So he got off. Oh, man. The guy doing the peeing was so embarrassed. He ran around the house and got up on this swing, just sit down, front porch swing.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who was the horse said, "Hey, put on my back."
Well, let me ask you this: but what year did integration, desegregation of the races take place?
Oh Lord, that was in my high school years.
So you were already up here near Atlanta when that happened.
Yeah, I was a senior in high school, and I graduated in '67, and they integrated the eighth grade.
So when you were little growing up, where did kids? Well, what about Hispanic? Were there even any Hispanic people like that you even knew about in your county?
No. I mean, it was.
Did they go to school with the black kids, or did they go to school with the white? I mean, with the white kids, or what?
Well, I didn't know of any. But if there were, they would have gone with the white kids.
Okay.
And see, we had one family in Quitman who was Jewish, and the little girl went to school, public school. Her name is, I think she's in here maybe. Seemed like we had more than, I'm pretty sure we had more than one class of
first grade,
but no more than two classes. She'll have smaller classroom if the classes were. Anyway, her name was Myra Lazarus, and to show how things were back then, once per week we'll have a Bible teacher come to the school, public school now, and she had it's called a flannel board. And she set up this little easel thing and had a little board about 3 foot by 2 foot or something, and it covered with flannel. And she had this little characters like Jesus and Moses.
I remember the flannel graph in Sunday school when I was in the 80s.
And she'd stick on that, and she'd tell little stories. She wouldn't give an invitation or anything like that. But I never will forget, Myra would leave the room, and the teacher would put a little chair right outside the door. And the Bible class, it may have lasted 15, 20 minutes. It wasn't very long. And little Myra would sit out there. Pretty little girl, dark hair, dark features, And she'd sit out there. So I went home one day and said, "Mama, how come Myra does that?" She said, "Ronald, she's Jewish." Well, I didn't really know what that meant, And I said, she said, "Well, they don't believe that Jesus is the Lord, the Savior." And I said, "How do you know she's Jewish?" "Her last name is Lazarus. Don't you remember Lazarus in the Bible?" "Okay, that makes sense." Okay.
The only Jewish family I knew growing up was the Steins.
Yeah. And then, see, Daddy was in the mercantile business. Daddy, back then, it's called General Mercantile, and all these were agricultural communities. There's no Little Richard song. "Well, it's Saturday night and I just got paid. A fool about my money, don't try to save." I'm old enough to remember horse and buggies. Well, no, not horse and buggies. Wagons being driven out of the country into town on Saturday night. Saturday night was payday, and these farmers, wherever you work, sawmill or stores or wherever, you got paid on Saturday. You see. So these guys would come into town on Saturday. That's when they'd buy their weekly goods or even monthly goods. And farmers, old pickup trucks and such. There was a street that ran parallel with Highway 84, which split right in town to equipment downtown. So there's a street ran parallel to it, and you could walk down there, and there were 2 butcher shops, 2 fish markets, and little grocery stores, and you hear this music coming out of this kind of honky tonk down there, and it was just a neat place to drive through, but you kind of felt odd getting out there and walking. Everybody just kind of mingled down in there to get their little deal done. And these old farmers coming in, I can sit now, man. Mom and Dad sitting up there on the wagon, and I mean, it's just like something out of Little House on the Prairie. Little kids sitting on the back of the wagon, swinging the feet, overalls and dirty, my stars. And I see Wilson, Wilson made good money, so Wilson could keep up with anybody in the country club set, but yet we were not a member of I don't even know if they had a country club back then. But see, back then, the doctors and lawyers, they all just pretty much lived in nice houses, but like in your mother's case, her doctor lived in the house where he practiced. You see, he had an office downstairs, and that's just the way it was. I've seen a cross burnt. I've seen the KKK marching around a burning cross, and some black guys' front yard.
Why did they do it? Did you understand at the time, like what they were doing, why they were doing that?
Well, I understood that the black man had done something to incur the wrath of the KKK, but it was weird. I mean, I asked Mother one time, and the same. Your mother, I think, asked her mother the same thing. How come black kids and white kids don't go to school together? I don't know, Ronald. That's just the way it's always been. But anyway, somebody called Mother. Hey, there's a cross burning down there in the quarters. Back then, the living was very, very segregated where people lived. And there was a line of demarcation, and it was called the Negro Quarters, or just the quarters. Now, the word quarters
that came from slavery,
slave days, and it was a section, little shanty type houses.
Did that have anything to do with old property lines of old plantations, or was it just when a city or city council would decide this is where we'll allow black people to live?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because these are houses that had very, very low ownership by black people. But see, Wilson and Ed Mullinax, our best friends there, Wilson financed it a store, a grocery store down in the quarters,
Yeah.
And we'd go down there. I never went down there by myself, rode my bike, but I rode my bike all over town, just anywhere. And but we'd go down there on Saturday, and Mother would buy the groceries down there, and it's just a whole different thing.
Did you ever find out what the the person had done to incur the wrath that caused the cross burning?
Dating a white girl. So I mean, he didn't get lynched. Quitman has Brooks County. This I didn't know this until just a year or two ago. Brooks County has a very, very sordid past when it comes to race relations.
And Brooks County is Quitman, where Quitman is?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were known as the breadbasket of the Confederacy. And secondly, there was a very famous lynching there. Killed a black girl, 19-year-old black girl. She was pregnant. And the reason they killed her was because they lynched her. Maybe didn't lynch him, but her husband was arrested for killing a white man, and she protested his innocence. So they chased her out to the edge of town. There's a bridge down there that has a plaque.
Who's they? Just the KKK
white
or
people.
Just people, vigilantes?
Yeah. I mean,
what year? Do you know what that was? That before you were born or after you were born?
Oh yeah. That was right about the time I'd be born. Yeah, but I mean, we were not. I don't think we were living there then. By that time, race relations had improved much as it could improve. But see, I used to play with little black kids where we lived, which was in a nice house that Wilson had built, brick house on the lake there, way over yonder as the crow flies, about 3/4 or a mile or so over there. That was what would be the project, called the project, and I used to get my old toys and put them in my basket, my bicycle, and go out and sell them. I'm an entrepreneur, boy. So, little nickel and dime stuff. So, I would meet these guys, these boys over there, and I'd say, yeah, come on over to the house and we'll play. So, this is one of those little vignettes, those little stories. It's neat. Had these two little boys over there. And your grandmother had a small block house, this little block building outside, had paved. It was not heated. She may have had a little heater there, but it didn't get cold then, And that's where she did her washing and ironing. Of course, we hung the clothes on the line, and there was a freezer back stored, frozen meat and stuff. So me and a couple of little black boys were playing cowboys and Indians. And Mother had dropped an RC bottle. Back then, I don't know why it's an RC, but it's an RC bottle, and it had little stoppers on it, and you fill up water, and she used that for sprinkling. They didn't have steam irons then. So she dropped one of those suckers, and it broke it, and she did not clean it up. So we all went barefoot. I could not wait until the first day of May. Mama, please let me go barefoot. Because some of those kids I went to school with, poor kids, they went barefooted every month out of the year, except for maybe one, or maybe seriously. And to me, it was a big deal to go barefoot. So anyway, we was all barefoot and running around, and I think his name was Boot. Boot was his nickname, Boot. Boot ran in there, he's screaming hot. Looked in there, and blood was just gushing from under his big toe. So I got some water in a little pail and stuck it in there. Thought that stopped bleeding. Turned red as fire. So I ran out. Cut his toe off. So she wrapped him up in a big old towel there and put him in the back seat. And he felt so awkward because he knew he'd done something wrong in the sense that playing with white kids to begin with and then getting hurt on their property. So we took him to name was Dr. Walter Stein. So they rushed him in there, and Wally, we'll call Wally, began to sew his little toe back together. And the nurse,
just stitches? You needed stitches?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the nurse was supposed to help Dr. Wallerstein, and she didn't want to touch him because he's a little black boy. She didn't want to touch him. So mother said, "God, boy." So mother stepped in there and said, "Wally, what do you want me to do?" Well, Peggy, hand me this, hand me that, So she made my most, man. There was another time, and I was in the car when this happened. Wilson and I were riding just right in town, and this little black boy goes running right out in front of us, slammed on the brakes. I go down the floorboards. Seatbelts weren't even around then. I rolled around the floorboard. What's happening? Looked up, and there's a little black kid laying out in the road. Oh, my stars. I thought he was deader than a hammer, Either I dreamed this or it actually happened. Back then, the Pontiac had a Pontiac. It was an Indian tribe, and the Pontiac car was named Pontiac, and the logo was this chieftain on right in the center of the hood. It had this the head,
his headdress or something.
Yeah, and in my mind, that's what hit that little boy. Well, I never will forget this. The boy's mother, standing on the side of the road. I told him not to run out in the street like that. My stars would have been screaming bloody murder. So anyway, they scooped him up in the ambulance, and the nearest hospital of consequence, it might have been one in Valdosta, probably took him there first. But to have any serious surgery, work, you went to Jacksonville or Atlanta. Of course, Jacksonville is just 3 hours or whatever over there. So they took the little boy to Jacksonville, and Wilson, as aggravating and sorry as he is, he paid $5,000, and they put a plate in that little youngin's head. Still alive, he still got that plate. Good thing about it, the plate in his head kept him out of Vietnam.
Wow.
So, that was that. And I saw Wilson, he was aggravating, he was mean. Wilson has serious emotional problems. Wilson's childhood was terrible anyway. So, but Wilson said, "Ronnie, I want to teach you how to sell boiled peanuts." Or I may have come to him because little boys in town were selling boiled peanuts, you see. So he financed me. He went out and bought a big old huge 20-pound bag of boiled peanuts. He and mother got in the kitchen and boiled them down, and had his little bitty bags. These were 10-cent bags. And we filled them. Fill them up, but you leave room to fold them up maybe twice. Whatever you do, don't let them young'uns talk you into giving them free samples, okay? Because you'll end up using a bag or two out of 20 bags. That's 10% of your deal, 10 cents a piece. Put them in my little basket in the front seat of my Western Flyer bicycle. Got down there, parked the bicycle, probably on Wilson's car lot. Took that box out, a little cardboard box, that little thing around my neck. Fresh ball peanuts! Fresh ball peanuts! Come on, man. Let me have a sample. Nope. How much is it? 10 cents a bag. Will you take 5 cents? No. 10 cents a bag. I still got the bank book upstairs. I think I netted, had to pay Wilson back. I netted $25 for the summer. But, I just, keep in mind, I got an allowance. So 50 cents or $1 a week, and my mother paid me a little bit to cut the grass.
That's a lot back in them days.
Yeah, really.
Okay, I'm going to jump ahead because I want to move on to where we are now. Then we'll wrap this up and we'll do another interview on in the future that addresses, I know you want to talk about some theological things, and that's obviously one of the angles I have on this show. But this was just the introductory to Ron Greene and his life and his personality. So tell me quickly, what happened to get you to the Atlanta area, which is where you graduated high school?
Well, mother put up with Wilson, put up with him.
And he was abusive, right? He was an alcoholic, abusive person.
Wilson had psychological problems. There's a movie, very, very famous movie starring Joanne Woodward called Three Faces of Eve. It's based on a true story. And Wilson went to see that psychiatrist, the same guy. But anyway, so mother, your grandmother, man, we could spend an hour on her, what she did. She was a superwoman. So anyway, she divorced him and we moved to Tifton, and I was in the 6th grade then. So we came out of the 5th grade and she got a job at a chiropractor's office. She making $35 a week. And Kipling was still there. So, she's trying to feed all of us. Just couldn't do it. So in my, about the 6 weeks into my 7th grade year, she got a job and we all moved up to Atlanta, to Decatur. By that time, Kipling and Jim were married, so it's just mother and me. And I never forget a walk.
Did she just move up to Atlanta because she just wanted to find a better job?
Yeah, she found a better job. I mean, she went from $35 a week to $60 a week. Maybe not immediately, but pretty darn close. And so I never forget. I walked in the 7th. First of all, it was at Forest Hills Elementary School in Decatur, just outside Avondale Estates. Avondale Estates at the time had a household income of about $15,000 a year, and that's $150,000 or $200,000 in today's money. It'd be like what Waterford is. So, but the houses back then, the nice houses were not big houses, but they were nice houses. So anyway, I go bopping in there the first day, and I never forget, the principal was a lady, and I've never seen a lady principal in my life. That's just, and the principal at Leave It to Beaver was a lady. But anyway, so I go bopping in there about 6 weeks into the year there. Hey, boys and girls, I have a new student, Ronnie Greene. So they had a television in there, and they were watching Atlanta Public Broadcasting, the educational channel. I said, man, you mean we get to watch TV in here? I said, oh Lord, I'm going to own this place in 6 months. So that was something. Then they closed that off, and then we started talking about it. Okay, students, well, let's go back to pi equals MC squared. See again? Now, I don't know how much
E equals MC squared, by the way.
E, whatever it is, pi r squared. That taught me very quickly that this was DeKalb County. They had a superintendent of school named Jim Cherry. That taught me very quickly that the education in North Georgia, especially in DeKalb County, is light years away from what it was in South
Georgia.
And you can tell that because all my cousins went to the University of Georgia. Sorry about that, boy.
Now, so you got there, you floundered your way on through high school. I know you made it. You weren't the best of students, but you did okay.
I had to.
You survived.
I had so much fun, I wanted to repeat the 12th grade. Mr. Giles said, no, Ronnie, we just can't take it.
So then after that, where did you go? Like, what did you do right after graduation? Did you go off to Bible college? When did you get saved and all that?
When I was 16 years old, I was very insecure. Because keep in mind, your grandmother kept the last name of her second husband. I don't know why she didn't go back to Greene. That would have saved me 1,000 questions. But Ronnie, how come your last name is Greene and your mother's name is Rose? Well, today that's just normal. Yes. You may have 2 or 3 last names within a family, mom and children. So, that was that. So I felt very, very, very insecure because everybody else seemed to have a Leave It to Beaver home life, mom and dad and all that stuff, and I didn't. So consequently, as insecure as I was, I never went without a girlfriend. I didn't have to beg, borrow, steal. Go to junior, senior. I went about 5.
When did you go? I mean, did you go to a church? I mean, how did you come to know the Lord, though?
Well, I was, what grade would I have been in when I was 16?
11?
I was already driving. I was 16. It's 1965. So
or 10?
I was liking this little girl, and she was only in the 8th grade. Now, I know it sounds big. It's only about 3 years. You know?
2 or 3, yeah.
And she she couldn't date, you see. And so I said, well, I want to see you, kid. So, well, you can come sit with me in church. So I thought like a lot of people, mother made sure we went to church, and I knew the Bible, knew all these Bible stories and stuff. And so anyway, I went to church with her, and the preacher got up there. He was a neat guy. I just found out recently that he was a POW during World War II, which I know then. But anyway, that's all kind of funny stories. So I sat there, and he preached, what's the worst thing that could happen to you? Lose your job, lose your wife, lose. And, you die without knowing the Lord. That's the worst thing that happened to you. So I felt convicted. Went in there and hit the altar and prayed, got saved. Let me tell you, this is a funny story. I was hungry for a male role model. So World War II guy, a real nice guy. So he took me under his wing, and I'd go visiting with him. This is funny. One day he said, okay, Ronnie, it was a Saturday. Okay, Ronnie, we're going to go visit Mrs. So-and-so, a church member. Guess where she was? She was in Milledgeville, which was the home of the state mental hospital. Now, this is beautiful. We have a Baptist in a mental hospital, confined to a mental hospital. What's wrong with that?
An independent Baptist? Was this the independent Baptist church too?
Oh, yeah, independent.
So I bet that, I've never known that about that you did that. I mean, I'm sure that kind of fostered in you the desire to then want to go into the ministry.
Well, yeah, but in retrospect, I surrendered to preach because that's what he did.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, off we go down into Milledgeville. He said, "Now, Ronnie," I was Ronnie Greene then. Somebody's going to come up to you and they're going to want you to give them a quarter. Don't you do it? What do they want a quarter for? They'll call a taxi
and leave.
And they were letting these people just walk around outside, So sure enough, man. So I was bopping along there, and this guy, hey man, can you give me a quarter? Loan me a quarter, whatever. What are you going to do with it? I'm just going to call my mama. I ain't going to call him a taxi. He goes, only crazy people do that.
Yeah. I'm not crazy.
So I didn't give him a quarter.
Now you graduated and so you had gotten saved by going to church with this girl?
Yeah.
And then did you go straight off to Bible college? What did you do right after graduation? Because you actually went off Bible college after you were 21. You were married and stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, let's see. What did I do for those intervening years?
Passed the time somehow.
What did I do besides tell you the truth?
You just dated and worked?
Yeah, I dated.
Okay.
It seemed like, a couple of years I went to, then it was DeKalb Junior College.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Is that where you met Patsy, your first wife? Or how'd you meet your first wife?
Yeah, I dated her for a year or two, yeah. Then we got married. I was working at an A&P grocery store. Mm-hmm. And she was, she and her parents live in the neighborhood. Cute little thing. There's an old song, 5'2", eyes are blue, look at dooba-doo, has anybody seen my gal? Beautiful girl, beautiful. So I just, there again, it's just, it's so, I look back on it now, and she was such a sweet gal, parents sweet. Her dad is a World War II veteran, took me under his wing, went out and we purchased a deer rifle and all that stuff, had a good old time. And I said, basically, I just married her mom and dad. Mm-hmm. I married her dad. So.
Yeah. You liked her family so much, you just wanted to marry her.
I told your mother, I said, I wish if weren't so awkward, I still like to be friends with her mom and dad.
So you married her, and then after y'all were married, you decided you wanted to go into the ministry, so you wanted to go to a Bible college?
Yeah, exactly. And by that time, see, we had stopped going to the Belvedere Baptist where I got saved. Stopped going to Belvedere Baptist, and we were off going to South Decatur Baptist and Independent Baptist. But see, there's all different levels of Independent Baptist, and the guy that was the pastor at the South Decatur church was Bible college educated.
Mm-hmm.
He was Canadian, and that's not unusual. How a lot of guys from Canada come, and so he attended Baptist Bible College.
And where was Baptist Bible College?
Springfield, Missouri.
So this is the only time you lived out of the state was when you went to Springfield.
Yeah. On a side note, your cousin, your mother's first cousin, Wilma, she was one of my teachers. Both she and her husband were one of my teachers.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah.
So how long were you there?
I was there about 3 years.
And you left because you and Patsy got divorced?
No, we they opened up a little college down the street from Aunt Brenda. Matter of fact,
okay.
I think it's still there.
That little.
Anyway, so
college.
we were starting to have issues and whatever, and I was going to continue my education there, and we came back, and I got a job at another Independent Baptist church. They had a Christian school. I got a job there teaching, and was going to plan on continuing my education at a little Bible college. And we had issues. Ronnie, I don't want to be a preacher's wife. Okay, so we didn't have any kids. Easy split. Bye. And today she's married to a Baptist preacher.
So but that meant you had to quit your because independent. I mean, even Southern Baptists, but Independent Baptists for sure weren't going to allow you to be a preacher or a deacon or anything. Being divorced, So you moved back in with you moved to Cartersville. When did you move back in with your mom or moved to Cartersville?
Yeah, see, I had to fulfill my contract with that little school, and it's so funny. See, our divorce became final in March. It's March 26th, I believe, of 75, and I had to finish out my year. So they wanted to keep an eye on Ronnie Greene. Because I was already dating this girl that I met shortly after she and Patsy and I divorced. But I don't think I told them that. But I met her. She was teaching at a Christian school in Dahlonega, and we all got together at different schools. We get together as a group. And that's when I met her. Her name was Martha. So anyway, they wanted to keep me kind of close. They being the principal, the pastor, and the church folks. So I lived in a little trailer, a little mobile home type trailer, but it's just tiny thing on the back side of a deacon's property out in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they fed me and all that stuff. But on weekends, you see, I was fancy free. This is in Covington, Georgia. So I went to Decatur from Covington. It's 25 miles. It's nothing. Covington's just beyond Lithonia. If you get
just east, yeah.
So I scooted back. I'd be back at Mama's Friday night, and that's when I was, dating Marty on Saturdays or whatever. I go up to her house up in Dahlonega. I'd even stay up there. Her mom and dad were there and spend the night up there. Good folks.
So then what took you to Cartersville?
When the school year ended, that's when I moved back in with your grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed a job, man. I just didn't have a job at all. So I'd sold one of the cars that she and I had. And so Mother had a friend who worked at a dental laboratory in Avondale Estates called Personal Dental Lab. The owners were Harvey Sherman and Doug Brawley. Harvey died a couple years ago. So she said, well, Lois said that they need somebody there. So I started, I think, in June of 75. Yeah, June of 75. Worked for a year. And I was called a model technician. Model technician is the lowest rung on the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing lower is janitor, you know. And they taught me to be the model technician. Well, you know my personality. Here I am, just like this. So Harvey called me back in the office one day. Ronnie, I'm from Kingston, Georgia. Uh-huh. And my mom and dad still live up there in Ackworth. Uh-huh. And Doug and I are going to open up a branch office up there. And we want you to go up there. And number one, you get the business in, you sell. And number two, you make the models. And we had you know where Barrett Parkway, not Barrett Parkway, Windy Hill Road, where the Chick-fil-A is right in there, there was a service station. And we use that service station as a midway point. The girl I hired would take the models down there for each patient, you know, dentist, and we'd swap off finished products. Turnaround time about a week on each project. So the first group that I talked to was, of course, the local dentist, Donald Swanson, Layman Smith's dad, Lester Smith, and others. And of course, having a dental lab in town, they'd never had that. Cartersville was still quite small. So then I hired this little gal, and then we began to offer pickup and delivery service to the dentist in outlying areas, Cedartown, Rockmart, Canton, you know, Lafayette, Georgia, and all that. So because there again, see, all the dentists then had the only way to get their lab work was to mail it to labs in Atlanta or in other locations.
So you were there in Cartersville at that point, then running that lab. You moved up there, I guess.
Yeah.
You still traveled to church down by your mom on Sundays.
Yep.
And so,
before I moved up there, right about the time, you know, shortly after I moved in with Mother, you know, needed a place to go to church.
Rehoboth.
And somebody said, "Well, let's come to Rehoboth." And I've been in small churches, you know. The church I was saved at, if they had 80 in Sunday school, that's a big day. And of course, other church, if they had 125 or 150, that's a big day. Go bopping in there. First thing I did when I got my first paycheck or so, I bought this white double-breasted suit, you know, John Travolta. Stand right, people. Stand right, stand right. I didn't have that suit the first day, the first Sunday, but as I like to tell the story. And this is one of those stories it's kind of a composite of events, but it's true. As I say, when I walked, you know, John that had the senior, we call it second seniors, but seniors never been married, widowed, divorced from 18 to 90. Women outnumbered the men by 3 to 1. And so I walked in. As I say, one of the girls saw me. That was about the time Jaws had come out. I tell everybody, man, I felt like a goldfish dropped into a swimming pool with a bunch of hungry sharks. In fact, one lady, she had this necklace with this huge sharks in it.
Gonna come get you with that shark tooth. So you went with them. You went with them to this retreat where you met Mama.
Yep. How Ron met Kay.
Yes. I'll direct them. I'll put the link right here. We won't go into the whole story, but I will. I'll put the link right here. So you met her there. She was actually with another group. She was chaperoning a youth group from another church at this Baptist retreat center, and you were there with your singles group, and you decided you wanted to get to know her, and then as soon as y'all got back home, you were calling her, and y'all were going out.
Walked out on the porch, waiting for the bus. Our bus, it was about 1:30, maybe 2 o'clock. There was a 30-minute gap there that I had alone to talk with her. Walked out on the porch. There was these little old ladies from our group, and there were some younger girls there, some of my age, you know, some of them I dated. So see, I had done the devotional Friday night, and you know, we sat around the campfire and I did a little devotion. And it's about setting goals, you see, set goals for your life. And so my goal is to set these criteria. So I'm telling these ladies, telling them how pretty they were and all that. She's going, skinny thing. I'm Ron Greene. And you? She said, I didn't say it like that. Oh, you little country girl. Real you in, baby.
So
anyway, watch the video.
yeah, exactly. You get all the details then. So y'all dated, you got married, and then you had me and John David.
I tell people, I say, I feel as if Rachel's been with us our entire married life because, we were only married for 5 months and she got pregnant with you because
you were 30 when I was born.
I was 30 when you were born, and your mother was a year behind me. So
she was, and in those days, as she tells it, that was almost she was almost an old maid when she married you. Like, when she met you, of course, she had moved away from her hometown and she was living on her own. She was an independent woman living in Atlanta, whereas her family's from West Tennessee. She said people had kind of just stopped asking if I was dating anybody. Like because at 27, they thought, well, she's an old maid.
Yeah. Your mother was, what's that TV show with Mary Tyler Moore?
Yeah.
There were 2 shows that was, she throw the hat up.
Oh yeah, well, the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Yeah, that was it. And then there was another one starring Marlo Thomas called That Girl. And so your mother was that girl without the outgoing personality of Mary Tyler Moore, Yeah.
Well, anyway, thank you for talking to me. It was interesting to hear these stories from, if people listen to this, it'll be a kind of a completely foreign upbringing to a lot of them. I moved through the second half of the life really fast because we could get to that in another video. I just kind of want to talk more about your childhood because it was a little more unique, I think, compared to what a lot of other people have experienced. So.
I wish we could. I want to deal a little bit more with race relations, and at some point, let me tell the story of Grandpa Bass and the KKK.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll do that next time.
That kind of opens a window. You see.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna say thank you for being on my second interview on my show, and everybody go check out the Ron Greene Comedian YouTube channel, and you can hear more interesting stories in shorter increments.
I love you, Rachel.
I love you too.